Join us, the Mr. and Mrs. Morgan you know, for a new 15-minute weekly recap about the most recent episode of Survivor Season 42.
Come on in. We'll appear in your podcast feeds every Wednesday morning, so you're all caught up before the newest episode airs on Wednesday night.
Like, subscribe, and share while you outwit, outplay, and outlast.
Hello, Internet. The Morgan You Know Podcast Network presents Balls and Brew.
Welcome back to another episode of Balls and Brew, the flagship sports podcast here on the Morgan You Know Podcast Network. I am your host, Rod Morgan, and I am rather excited. This is a hashtag original squad episode of Balls and Brew. Back when this podcast was originally conceived, there were three of us that got together to talk sports while sitting around and also talking about beer, kind of the way you sit around and talk about sports with your buddies. So that's what Balls and Brew is all about. We're doing an original squad episode. So joining me from North Carolina, my co-host, still bald, still loves to drink Stella Artois for some reason, but we still love him. It's Chris King. Hello.
It's tasty, Rod. It's delicious. You guys need to learn.
That's right. We do need to learn. And a man who definitely does not think Stella is tasty, but he's our man out in the desert. We're excited to have him back for what I said is an original squad episode of Balls and Brew here. He's Matt Roberts. Matt, hello.
Hello, my friends. It feels good to be back with you two, and I think you are mispronouncing it. It's Stella R.
Ah, that's right. I'm not as well with the French pronunciations as you are.
I've studied for many, many years.
Yeah, it's all those times in golf clubhouses where you're speaking French to all the people. That's what that is. All right, here's the plan for this episode of Balls and Brew. Chris, Matt, and I are going to kick around some NFL topics, some big news with our Indianapolis Colts. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little basketball because I'm a huge basketball person and we are winding down closer and closer to the playoffs. So I got a couple of nuggets I want to kick around about that. And our golf guy, Matt Roberts, has an exciting nugget that he just dropped on me out of nowhere the other day in a text message thread that got me all excited. So we're going to talk to him about that before we say goodbye to him, and then we're going to do something different and something pretty special on the back half of this episode. So you have to wait until we actually get there to find out what that is. I'm not even going to tease it. Let's start with the NFL because that is the most dominant sport in America, and they have not wanted to give up the headlines. This is normally the part of the year where the NFL is not supposed to be dominant. It's supposed to be college basketball time. We're supposed to be talking about the Masters, and the NFL just keeps butting in every day with huge trades. Chris, I know you have an incredible statistic about all of the trades that have happened. What is it?
This offseason so far, 9 players have been traded that have a total of 39 Pro Bowl selections between them. Not free agents. Like, these guys aren't available. Like, these are teams making big moves, making big jumps. We are seeing a real quarterback carousel right now, and these guys are getting traded. I really can't remember an offseason this crazy. I mean, maybe you got to go back to the Herschel Walker trade, but like, this offseason has been off the chain. The NFL definitely knows how to keep relevant in this day's age, keeping those headlines coming day in, day out. It's been a phenomenal offseason for NFL fans.
It certainly has, and I wonder, Mr. Roberts, I wonder if you have any thoughts about this like I do, that we have a lot of younger GMs in the NFL these days. We have actually a lot of GMs that kind of come not necessarily from the playing field and then up through the coaching ranks. Like we used to have GMs, we have guys who are thinking about a lot more long-term plans, and I think what we're seeing is guys are like, hey, man, I'll sell out draft picks and whatever because I got to get it together this year because the salary cap's something I can completely play with next year. I got to sell out to do everything I can now, and I don't think GMs used to think that way.
No, I don't think so at all. It was always draft capital. What do you got next year? How can you retool? How can you reload? I mean, St. Louis basically sold out their draft, or the Rams, Los Angeles, sold out their whole draft, sold out their team for the next, 3 years, draft picks, 4 years, and they win a Super Bowl. So I think it's a trend, copycat league, all that stuff. They see one team do it, and I think teams are trying to get after it.
They most certainly are. I mean, Chris, we got the Dolphins, right? Who they go out and get Tyreek Hill. I mean, that's something we didn't even know about. That's a huge move.
So I have kind of a deep theory on this phenomenon, because like you just said, we have a plethora of young GMs out there, right? Let me ask you guys, what were we doing 20 years ago? We were playing Madden.
Oh, I love this.
What What did Madden introduce then in the late 90s when you were doing franchise mode on your PlayStation? Making trades, running your team, being your own GM. That's what guys that are in charge of these teams, these 40-year-old, 45-year-old GMs in these teams, they grew up doing that. They love doing that. They want to wheel and deal. They want to make these trades because they grew up doing it and playing on video games. I think that's exactly why you're seeing more of it now.
Fantasy football.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one.
I think so, because let's go back to our Madden days, right? I think all of us here probably found out the same thing, right? At some point when you'd be playing your franchise on Madden, right? If you were going to win the Super Bowl every year, why not give up your first-round pick? Because it's a low first-round pick anyway, and what's it going to be? But for some reason, every year on the video game, guys would give you a bunch of stuff for your first-round pick, not realizing it was going to be the last one, and you're like, hey, I'm going to be in the Super Bowl anyway. So right. I started thinking that when I wonder if you're onto something there, Chris.
Yeah, because I know exactly what you mean. You had till week 6 to make that trade. No one knew who was good or bad yet. And so, yeah, you'd be able to swap first-round picks with just about anybody. It was great, and you started wheeling and dealing. You started trading draft picks. You started signing guys that were free agents from other teams or cutting guys to save money. You really got into doing that. That was some of the most fun part of Madden back in the day when I played. I think that's a big reason you got these guys doing it now. They want to do it in real life like they've done in fantasy or on video games for their entire life.
All right, let me ask you this then. How much do we think football players, I guess namely quarterbacks, but bigger name football players getting a little more agency over what happens in their career, right? We're seeing a little bit more from this from Russell Wilson. We've certainly seen Aaron Rodgers with his diva behavior over the past 2 years. Tom Brady basically retires and kind of forces the Bucs to make sure they're going to get their ducks in a row, and now he's back and everybody falls in line. I mean, do we think that we're seeing a little bit of the player empowerment era of the NBA rubbing off onto the NFL here?
Oh, yeah. If you're a professional athlete and you see other athletes being able to do this and succeeding, you know you're an integral part of your team, you know you have that talent, then why not try to extend your power into the front office and dictate things? It's kind of been a natural progression. The teams and the leagues themselves are partly to blame. They make it easier and easier for teams to move players however they want them. To cut them, to do whatever without too much input from the players normally. So, yeah, I see it as a natural progression, especially for the top tier players in the NFL. Especially if you're like at the top player in your position, yeah, you're going to be able to dictate some stuff.
Well, interesting, Mr. Roberts. I'm coming at you blind here, but this is the NFL. I imagine this is a thing that made some headlines out in your neck of the woods there. The Arizona Cardinals, right? Kyler Murray was trying to play strong arm with the Cardinals there. It looked like he stopped following on my Instagram, and nobody was quite sure exactly what he was trying to do, but it sounds like the Cardinals stood up to him a little bit. So perhaps Kyler Murray got a little bit too big for his britches. Did you catch any wind of that out in Arizona?
I think that's kind of the general vibe everybody had, was he did try to kind of bully his way into a new contract apparently, and they were just like, go ahead and try it. We're good. I don't think he has the pull to do that yet.
There you go. I think that's the part, right, that we're going to see a reckoning with across all of the sports leagues, right? Is Chris, you're absolutely right. It's a copycat league when it comes to the GMs and the coaches, but it's also a copycat league when it comes to the players themselves, right? When you see what another guy gets and what another guy can get away with, you want that same thing for yourself. And then every professional athlete thinks to themselves, I'm the best. That's how they've gotten there in the first place. But they're going to be a reckoning for these guys when they realize, oh, I'm actually this different level, and it's going to be awfully hard for some guys to take, I think. And we could see some acting out, and it'll be interesting here these next couple of years when all these guys start trying to sow their oats, and some of them are going to get pushed back on.
Well, and you've seen it happen a few times in the NBA already with some players who thought they were worth more than they really were and tried to bet on themselves more and force the issue and not work out in their favor. They end up with low minimum type contracts instead of the big extensions they were wanting to get.
Yeah, but in other circumstances, some of these guys can end up getting exactly what they want, and that's actually probably something that we're going to touch on in the NBA segment, and you can tell how excited I am to touch on that particular thing. But let's talk about something that does have me excited. Our Indianapolis Colts were part of the QB carousel. Pieces were moving all around the chessboard. The Indianapolis Colts inquired with the Houston Texans about trying to trade for Deshaun Watson. Not sure that I'm that excited about that, and I also think that that was completely a fool's errand, because why would the Texans trade him to the Colts so that he can beat them twice a year? So that was pretty much a non-starter for me. So I was all in on who the Colts were going to get after they moved Carson Wentz out of town, and lo and behold, it ended up being Matt Ryan from the Atlanta Falcons. Chris, your thoughts?
I was okay with this. We gave up a third rounder that we had just got for Wentz, and so it didn't cost us hardly anything. We get a guy who's a proven veteran. He's an NFL quarterback. I've been a fan of his since he came out of Boston College. He definitely has a better track record of making decisions at pivotal moments in games than our previous quarterback had. I do think that we maybe should have waited a couple more days before we could have got somebody else who I thought would have been a better fit. But like overall, I'm pleased with this move.
All right, Matt R., your thoughts on the new Matt R. quarterbacking the Indianapolis Colts?
Well, first and foremost, there's only one Matt R. that ever matters in Indiana, and that's me when I'm there.
That's true. You did move out of state, though. He's just kind of moving on your territory since you bailed to the desert.
That's true. Maybe I'll send him a message. No, big fan. I'm not going to name drop Boston College like Chris just did. But I wanted them to go after Matt Ryan before the Phillip Rivers experiment. That was kind of floated around of maybe an idea. I don't know how true that was, but I was all for it back then. Maybe a couple years late on it, but I like it, and I think it's a good move. It's probably the best of what was available. Everything else moving pretty quickly. We weren't going to get Aaron Rodgers. I'm totally on board. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, you know what? I would have been a fan of the Matt Ryan move a couple of years ago, because my only pushback against Matt Ryan is I completely agree with you. Here, the thing that I'm going to love about Matt Ryan the most next year is that he's not Carson Wentz, okay? So that's already a low bar for him to achieve, but he already achieves that just by not being Carson Wentz. So I'm excited about that. And I agree with you, Chris, that he's going to make far fewer mistakes, hand the ball off. This team, great. But what I'm worried about, and what would have been alleviated by getting Matt a couple of years prior, would be the QB carousel the Colts have been on, okay? Ever since a quarterback who shall not be named by me, at least on this podcast, decided to walk away from football, the Colts have had Scott Tolzien, Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, now Matt Ryan, all in succession, okay? I understand that we were a stability of QB, a model franchise for many, many years, and you can't always expect that, but I would much rather see the Colts go for a guy who maybe could be their quarterback for 5 to 6 more years and not just 2 to maybe 3 at maximum. That's why, Chris, I believe you're with me on this, and we're about to debate with Mr. Roberts here. I was ready to go get the distressed asset from Cleveland. Bring him just a couple hours west. Bring him out of Ohio. Bring him over to Indianapolis. Smaller media market. Yes. Nobody's going to be looking for much out of there. The guy was a number 1 pick. Still has some athletic skills. Loves football. Wants to win. Give me Baker Mayfield. Maybe you can rehabilitate him, and he's your quarterback for 6 years and not just a couple of years of Matt Ryan. Chris, I'll come to you in a second. Mr. Roberts, you give me the other side.
Why do you automatically think I'm on the other side? Because that's the more rational side. You kidding me? A smaller media market. He's in Cleveland, not L.A. Like, get out of here with that. I just don't think he's done anything that makes me want him as a quarterback. There's nothing to me that he's done in the NFL that is just like, ooh, yeah, give him to me. I think you said diva about Aaron Rodgers. I think he's a little diva. Just not a fan.
Let me ask you this. When Carson Wentz was going to be your quarterback last year, how did you feel about him prior to...
Hated it.
Okay, so you were against that as well.
Yeah, hated it.
All right, because I was.
But I also hated Phillip Rivers, but I grew to love him.
Oh yeah, me as well. I mean, it's documented on this podcast what I used to say about the bolo tie, and then I came around big time by the end of the year. So, Chris, tell Mr. Roberts why he is wrong and that Baker Mayfield actually has a little bit of talent that we could have mined.
The past 2 years have made me more of a believer in Baker. The guy is a gamer. He goes out. It kind of reminds you a little bit of a young Brett Favre. Take the hits, take a little bit of risk, can throw it deep. He throws it hard. He will play through injuries. He's a gamer. Like, he goes out there and plays strong. If he was in a different franchise other than Cleveland, I think he'd be a lot more successful. Like, if he was at Pittsburgh wouldn't be losing their division anymore. They'd be competing with Baltimore and Cincinnati a whole lot more than they are. I think being in Cleveland is tough for anybody, especially a big quarterback. I think Cleveland deserves Deshaun Watson. I think that will be a match for them for a long time. I really do think a Baker Mayfield would have been a better idea for the Colts, just like for what you said, Rod. Get him for 5 to 8 years instead of hoping to get 3 and being able to find another quarterback in that time for Matt Ryan to mentor.
Yeah, because, I mean, we've seen a revolving carousel behind some of these guys anyway, right? I mean, everybody was all in on the Eason kid, and then next thing you know, he was out, and we had Sam Ellinger was the backup. You know what I mean? So, like, there's been a revolving door of backups behind Frank Reich as well. And I also think some pressure is on Frank Reich here. I really do. And this is Chris Ballard's move, I think, right? Chris Ballard, I think, wanted Matt Ryan because I think Chris Ballard has shown himself to be somebody who's a bit QB averse at this point, right? He's not willing to put all of his chips in the middle because he's got such a good team around him. So I'll be interested to see here. I think Matt Ryan I'll be honest with you, I don't think he moves the needles for the Colts. I really don't. I think he doesn't move it backwards, which is good, and that's really all the Colts wanted, but I'm not sure he moves it all that far forward, and I'm completely ready to be on the side of Matt Ryan by the end of next year, just like I was with the Bolo tie, and unfortunately, just like I sort of was for Carson Wentz before the final 2 games of the regular season.
Listen, I think if Matty Ice was the quarterback last year, we'd be in the playoffs.
Well, I think there's no doubt about that, and I want to give some shouts to Jim Irsay here, because I heard a story that Carson Wentz wanted to meet with Jim Irsay after the final game of the regular season, and Irsay flat refused. And I'm like, that's incredible. That's incredible stuff by the owner of the Indianapolis Colts right there.
Yeah. Irsay can be stubborn sometimes, but man, he just does not pull punches that often.
And you know what? Frankly, if the Green Bay Packers had an owner like Irsay, we might not have seen some of this Aaron Rodgers drama because he probably would have just acquiesced and given him everything he wanted every time he asked, and we wouldn't have seen all of this fighting.
In all reality, though, Irsay would probably get along with Aaron Rodgers a lot better than Rodgers does with the current ownership in Green Bay.
That's true. They are both strange birds.
Right?
All right, let's move on to a little bit of basketball talk here. We are getting ever closer to the playoffs. We will probably have a Balls and Brew more dedicated to just a playoff preview where Chris and I and some special mystery guests will chop it up even more. But I got a couple little things I want to discuss here. Mr. King, did you happen to see highlights of what possibly was the end of hashtag Heat culture last night? Did you see what I was talking about?
No, I missed that. I was not in a situation to watch any NBA last night or this morning.
Well, there was a big skirmish last night where Jimmy Butler was basically getting into it with Eric Spoelstra and then the entire Miami Heat, except Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry just walked away from the skirmish before everything kept heated up. He just said, I don't want any part of this, but he walked away from it. But yeah, shocker here. Jimmy Butler was mad at his teammates, saying that they weren't giving enough effort and wanted to fight somebody. I'm shocked to have to report this to you guys. You've never heard Jimmy Butler behave this way in the past.
I mean, isn't that like It's like saying the sky's blue. I mean, it's going to happen. That's a given. He's done it every spot he goes to. He's had this issue, and he's become real vocal about it. It doesn't necessarily endear him to his teammates, but you cannot deny that dude works hard, and maybe harder than just about anybody else in the NBA.
Yeah, but see, I'm going to push back against that here. He's landed in a place where actually there's a bunch of guys on that team that work just about as hard as he does, and there's a bunch of tough dogs in the yard just like him, and he was barking at some of them last night, and then he didn't want any part of it, right? Udonis Haslem, who's 41 years old, who's been with the Miami Heat for basically 20 years. Okay, he was essentially assistant coach at this point. When Butler started stepping to Spoelstra, who, by the way, I'm going to give huge credit to here. Butler starts stepping to Spoelstra, and Spoelstra whips around, and you can see him mouth to Jimmy Butler. He's like, you want to fight me? Like, he's just completely, like, what are you talking about? I'm your coach. Why do you want to fight me? And then you see him repeatedly look at Butler and say, show them, basically saying your anger at me is completely misplaced here. And then Haslem loses his temper and starts getting in Jimmy Butler's face, and Jimmy Butler backs up a little bit. He doesn't want any part of Udonis Haslem, Mr. Roberts.
Nobody wants a part of Haslam. He might be the scariest person to think of fight on a basketball court I've ever seen.
Yeah, so he stood up for Spoelstra, and you could see that a lot of the other players were kind of just rolling their eyes, kind of speaking to what Chris was talking about, like, here Jimmy goes again, you know what I mean? And the other credit I'm going to give to Spoelstra after the game is because he's such a great NBA coach, when asked about the skirmish, Spoelstra looked the reporters right dead in the eye and said, we were just arguing about where we were going to go to dinner. It's no big deal. Because he's a great coach. He understands that he needs Jimmy Butler, and he's not going to make it any worse than he is. And I also think, Chris, that he knows Butler's going to go in and have a closed-door meeting with Pat Riley and let Pat take care of it.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. It took me a while to come around on Spoelstra as a top-tier NBA coach. And I think he's definitely proven it. It's definitely taken me longer than what it should have. But the last 3 or 4 seasons especially, he's really proved how good of an NBA coach he is.
Oh, guys come and go through there, right? And what stays the same, that they're always going to be a contender, and Spoelstra's the coach, right? I mean, they've reworked their identity. They were a superstar team. Then they were a bunch of scrappy guys. Now they're a bunch of young guys on the come. Then they brought in Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry and got old again. And PJ Tucker. I mean, whatever you need Spoelstra to do, he gets it done. I have nothing but respect for that guy. Greg Popovich just broke the NBA record for wins, and he probably will never be broken. But if Eric Spoelstra wants to stick around and coach until he's in his 70s, he's going to put a big number up on the board as well.
Yeah, he will.
Let's move on to another NBA topic that I wanted to discuss. And Chris, what I wanted to discuss with you is the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, the Minnesota Timberwolves are maybe if they stay hot, not even going to be in the play-in, Chris. The Minnesota Timberwolves are messing around with the 6th seed right now. And maybe you remember somebody on this podcast telling you that the Wolves were going to make the playoffs.
Oh, no, you called it first of the season. I'll give you your props. And they have been playing hot. They're a game and a half behind Denver right now. 7-3 over the last 10. They did lose 2 in a row lately. Good thing Denver's playing pretty decent right now, too. They've won 6 out of the last 10. But, man, they are moving up. It does help that the Clippers and the Lakers are horrible this year.
Yes, it certainly does. It certainly does. But the Lakers, no matter how hard they try to lose, they're going to be in the playoffs. They're in the play-in tournament whether they want, because Portland is by hook or crook going to make sure they're not there, and New Orleans definitely ain't going to be there either.
Yeah, the only chance the team has is the Spurs, and the Pelicans and the Spurs have to beat probably the Lakers, and I really don't see that happening.
No, so unfortunately we're getting the Lakers in, and I guess, I'm so disgusted to have to go to this, but we have to. The Brooklyn Nets, I mean, things have just changed for the Brooklyn Nets because Kyrie Irving is now allowed to play in every home game and road game for the Brooklyn Nets, except if they happen to draw the Raptors in a playoff series or the play-in tournament. So, Chris, I mean, does your thoughts on the Nets change because Kyrie can play in a few more games, or do you still think all the same things we've thought about the Nets and Kyrie really just helps? Yes, but you just don't know because who knows if that mess is going to come together the right way.
Brooklyn is 16-19 at home this year, 22-16 on the road, so they are better with Kyrie on the floor. They become a better team. I think they're in through, and they're going to be in a play-in game. I think they make it there. If they end up the 8th seed, that's them going up with, really at this point, any one of 4 teams in the East. But more likely Miami, maybe Philly, and Brooklyn's going to be a dangerous 8th seed in the East.
Oh, without a doubt. And Mr. Roberts, if New York City Mayor Eric Adams was a bit more of a Brooklyn Nets fan, say the way he is a New York Yankees fan, do you think that might have helped Kyrie Irving out a little bit sooner? Because the minute Aaron Judge kind of let float that he might not be vaccinated and couldn't play home games for the Yankees, things got changed.
Yeah, that might have had a little something to do with it. I mean, I never understood the reasoning. I mean, I just didn't get it, but
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Listen, my only thought on it is this, okay? You're absolutely right. I'm not going to sit here and talk about the science anymore because you have thousands of fans in there that are unmasked and don't have to be vaccinated sitting right behind Kyrie Irving. Then he was even allowed to buy a ticket and sit there. So I completely get all of that. But what I would say is about a month and a half prior to this date, a boatload of New York City employees lost their jobs due to said vaccine mandate, okay? Are they going to get any of their jobs back? Are they going to get any sort of compensation that's now being shown to a guy who was operating under the same premise that all of them lost their jobs by? I mean, That's what I'm saying here. It's just tough. It's a tough look for the mayor, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that he likes the Yankees and he didn't care about the Nets.
Yeah, no, I think it was definitely he cared a lot more about baseball than he did basketball. I don't think he plans on giving anything to those employees. I do anticipate some lawsuits coming from some of those employees. But like it was definitely handled horribly wrong.
That's what I mean. It's just a tough look. I don't want to get into the vaccine mandates
Yeah.
on this podcast. This isn't the platform for it, right? But what I will say is you had a thing in place, and it just looks right now that you're giving someone who's rich and powerful and famous an exception, and you didn't for a whole lot of other people, and that's a tough look for the New York City mayor. And I'm surprised to see that it went this way, because they've went this long where they were catching bad optics, and I'm just surprised to see it went this way. And I can't stop pointing out the baseball thing because I think it matters here.
Oh, I think it definitely matters. Because nothing was ever said or came up until after the CBA was finalized in baseball, and then you knew you're going to have opening day and home games, and you knew it was going to be a problem. I am sure baseball's leading hard on everywhere to loosen up as much restrictions as possible, and they pull a lot of weight, especially in New York.
Well, there's some things going on with Toronto still in Major League Baseball. Perhaps we'll get into that on a future episode of Balls and Brew. But we have Mr. Roberts here, and we're going to get to the golf tees. But I must ask about the best team in the NBA, who we have not mentioned here, the Phoenix Suns. I mean, Mr. Roberts, is everybody just yawning out there? Like, wake us when the playoffs are here. Is Chris Paul coming back soon? Give us a Suns update.
The last I heard, Chris Paul is playing Sunday. I guess he was going to come back last night, and then they said, let's just go ahead and give it another day. I'm probably not playing anybody fun today, and then they play the 76ers on Sunday. But people are excited. There's big turnouts if you go out to eat, whatever. There's a Suns game on. Everybody's cheering and hooting and hollering. But I think they're ready for the playoffs. They've just been good all year. I mean, I don't want to say boring, but they've just been really good all year. So
well, they've already clinched the number 1 seed. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
that's already been clinched. So that proves how well they've been playing.
Well, and they didn't slow down really at all with Chris Paul out. I thought they were going to falter a little bit, but they've won 6 in a row right now. 8 of the last 10.
Well, I think Monty Williams is your coach of the year, absolutely. And I think that, what's weird about it is I don't think you're going to see any other Suns in like any of the other big awards, right? Like Chris Paul maybe would have gotten in the top 5 had he played all year long. With that injury, he's not going to be there. Devin Booker's certainly not going to be there, but this team's still going to be the best in the NBA and maybe a favorite to make it back to the finals.
Should be fun to watch.
Well, you know what else is fun to watch is the Masters. And Mr. Roberts, you dropped an absolute text message bomb on me the other day. Explain to the people what past champions of the Masters have to do and why something is pretty interesting right now.
Well, there's also been new developments too.
Okay.
So, as a past champion, you have to inform them if you're going to play. And as we all saw, Phil Mickelson is informed he is not playing. You're looking through the list. It's most of the older guys, but there was a name missing from this list. And I think it says a lot, and it was Mr. Tiger Woods.
Oh, so Tiger has yet to inform the good old boys at Augusta that he is not playing, huh? That's interesting.
That is correct. And my inside sources have said that Tiger is at Augusta today and tomorrow playing to see if he can make the walk.
Wow, that would be absolutely incredible. Do you know how there's no more stories about Phil Mickelson not being at Augusta if Tiger Woods is at Augusta?
Yeah, that'll take over everything. And actually Augusta has him listed as playing on their tournament page. But he does have the option of up, I think, until the week before. That can change. So it gives us hope. It's not official that he's going to play, but the signs are kind of pointing to he's going to try to play.
That is absolutely incredible news. Mr. King, your thoughts on Tiger Woods maybe possibly playing in this year's Masters, as if we needed to be more excited about it, right?
It's exactly what golf needs. I mean, really, they need something that's big and positive, and nothing would be bigger or more positive than Tiger coming back to the Masters. With all the stuff about the Super Tour and Abu Dhabi, or Phil being a really awful Phil this is something that the PGA especially really, really needs.
Well, I hope that it happens. We will keep our fingers crossed. We will have you back here rather soon, Mr. Roberts. We're going to have the NCAA tournament wrap up, not this weekend, but the following, and then we'll be ready to hear the birds chirping and the azaleas blooming.
I can't wait. And since you just brought up the NCAA tournament, I do have to brag that I'm probably the only person you know that has St. Peter's in the Final Four.
Nice. Look at you. That's incredible. Why'd you put St. Peter's in the Final Four?
Because I filled out a bracket about 13 seconds before the tournament started, and I just flipped a coin for every matchup. And St. Peter's made it to the Final Four.
That's incredible. Listen, you know what? While we're doing some NCAA tournament bragging then, Chris was our expert on the show here. He's our bracketologist. But I told him, watch out. Does Michigan have a little nobody believes in us? Maybe they're going to get together. And lo and behold, look who made the Sweet 16, Chris. So maybe I do know a little bit more about college basketball than I thought.
You're the Michigan connoisseur, I guess.
Yeah, living right next to the border. That's what it is. Living up here near Granger. Like I can get to the Michigan border, kind of like Sarah Palin could see Russia from her backyard. I can see the Michigan border from my backyard. So that's what makes me good with Michigan things.
Yep, that's right.
All right. Well, Mr. King, you are going to be joining me on the next segment. We're going to be welcoming back a friend of the Morgan You Know podcast network. You've heard him on a couple of the Morgan You Know episodes. One, Jake Williams. And we're actually going to talk Oscars. And Chris, do you know why we're going to talk Oscars on Balls and Brew?
Because we're an entertainment pod.
No. That, yes, we're all about entertainment. That's definitely true. But we make predictions on this podcast all the time, right?
We do predictions.
So we can predict the Academy Awards that are occurring on Sunday. And we like to talk about odds on this particular podcast, don't we?
Yeah, do you have some odds?
We do have odds, and you can bet on DraftKings for the Academy Awards, so that makes this a Balls and Brew eligible topic. So we're going to talk to Jake Williams about the Oscars on the other side. All right, we are back. I have loved the Academy Awards my entire life. Shout out to the mother. You know, my mom, Judy Morgan, she really brought me up on the Oscars. I remember watching them as a kid. We've done big blowouts for the Oscars in the past, but I don't feel the same excitement for the Oscars this year, but I'm not going to ignore them completely. So I could think of one person to come on and help me chat about the Oscars. He's our movie connoisseur. He's our guy from down there in Muncie. He's writing screenplays. He can produce video. He's got a great voice. He's Jake Williams. Jake, hello.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to be a part of this show tonight. Let's talk about the 2021 Oscars and the craziness that is this year when it comes to the Best Picture. Everything else we can debate, but the Best Picture, oh my God, I can't wait.
All right, well, we will get there, but here's where I want to start. My dauber's a little bit down for the Oscar telecast. Chris, how often do you, someone who I would describe as, you're a pretty big movie fan, you worked at Hollywood Video back in the day, you like your movies, but you're a little bit more casual than Jake and I. How often do you find yourself tuning into the Academy Awards?
Rare.
Is there anything you think the Academy Awards could do to be more of an interesting telecast that could catch your eyes and make you want to tune in so they can get more viewers and solve this viewership problem that they're so worried about?
Yeah, have movies that people have actually watched be nominated.
Movies that grandfathers like, perhaps, as your grandfather clock goes off in the background?
I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Like, you don't see, like, any movies that are popular anymore. I mean, there's good movies on this list, and there's bad movies on this list, but none of them are something that the average person has probably seen.
Okay, let me ask you
And
this.
that
I hear
causes
that
an
argument.
issue.
No, I hear that argument, but let me ask you this. Let's follow through on that for a second. So you get a couple of movies nominated for Best Picture that you consider the bigger, better movies. Are you watching the Oscars?
Yeah, I watched the Oscars when they were nominating Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, Return of the King. Like I was watching them then.
Like Titanic, like back in the, like you were big Jack and Rose, like you were a big Jack and Rose stan. You were all excited when Titanic got nominated for 13 nominations. My
ass fell asleep watching that movie in the theater.
Well, I mean, you were around when the Titanic sank itself, so it was old hat to you.
I was on one of those rescue boats.
All right, Mr. Williams, let me come to you on the same topic here. I tend to agree with Chris that I think it would be a good idea for the Academy to dominate a few more of the popcorn movies, as it were, a few more of the populist movies, and try to get a few more eyeballs turned in. But I worry that even if they do that, the eyeballs aren't going to tune in anyway. And so then you've just watered down your product for those guys like you and me who are true hardcore film, for lack of a better term, geeks. So you think maybe the Academy Awards should go a different way and just stop trying to appeal to the masses and really hone in on this is an important ceremony to nominate the best of an important film.
Yes. And let me throw out one little simple word for you. Ready, guys? Here it is tonight. BAFTA. So the British Academy Awards don't give a shit. Sorry if I can't say S word.
That's okay. We're all adults here.
All right. They don't give a crap. So the BAFTA has done their thing. And they've set themselves up and they've set it out to where they can do whatever they want. And I think the Oscars need to be that. As much as I want populist films. Okay, so let's talk about populism. Let's talk about Black Panther. Let's talk about movies that transcended things in their time and got nominated because of it. Okay? So I'm all down for it. I'm down for the Oscars being the last bastion of film. It's dying. Film is almost dead. As a producer, I'm producing for TV. I don't want to talk about it right now. I'm just saying I'm producing for TV because that's where the money is. The golden era. We talk about all the streaming services. So let's just leave the Oscars alone. If the Golden Globes want to include TV, cool. Let's do that. But the Oscars, somebody, just somebody, channeling Jay Sherman from The Critic, somebody has to just represent what good film can be. And I don't know if that's happening.
I would tend to agree with you here. What I would think is, I think what they need to do is, first off, we need to stop having a different producer every year and thinking that a new producer is going to all of a sudden solve this trick and come up with the clown that everybody's going to want to pay attention to. Stop thinking of it that way. The nominees can be fine. What they've done with the expansion of the Academy and allowing for more international votes and many more diverse voices, we're getting great nominees there. Do more with the telecast, okay? You've cut out 8 of the awards this year. Too bad for those folks that the awards have been cut out, but they're still going to get their speeches played during the telecast. But here's what I think they should do. We are at basically what would be the 50-year anniversary of The Godfather, Jake. How cool would it be if Francis Ford Coppola, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Robert Duvall stood up on stage and talked about The Godfather for 5 minutes before they gave out an award?
That would be exactly. And talk about Godfather 2. And talk about this phantom edit that exists, where both 1 and 2 have been recut. Have you guys heard about this? It's been cut into one film.
What did they run the Godfather saga like that on AMC before? I thought, where they actually ran all 3 of them together as just one long film, and they spliced them in like that.
No, what I'm saying is that somebody re-edited 1 and 2 into one long film where it starts with Vito Corleone at 9.
Really?
Follows his life and then transitions right into Michael's life, and there we go. And that's Godfather 1 and 2. I think it'd be an incredible watch. I would love to watch that movie and critique it with you guys.
Right, but we can't just show that cut of the Oscar of The Godfather during the Oscars, though, right? Like we can't possibly do that. We're already worried about them being over 3 hours. We can't show that cut of The Godfather. But I see what you're saying.
Oh, we're showing it. No, but seriously, you're right. You're absolutely right.
But I just think, like, how cool would that be? Or like if you brought Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd up on stage, you were like, hey, remember Spies Like Us? Remember that was a great movie we all liked, right? Like, just do different stuff like that. Like, I just think they should concentrate more on celebrating film, right? Like the Grammys, people love the Grammys. They don't even give out awards anymore. They just have great, people getting up on stage and jamming together. You can sort of do the same thing with film. And shout out to my guy Bill Simmons. Everybody knows on this podcast network how much I love Bill Simmons, and that Godfather idea was his. So I don't want to act like I'm cribbing that, but once I heard it, I was like, that's absolutely fabulous. They should totally be honoring the anniversary of a movie every year. Chris, any other ideas for what the Oscars can do, or should we just move on and try to blindly pick some of these?
If they are like what Jake has brought up, which was a good point, if they want to honor film because it is dying, then you got to honor more than just what they're going to consider the right type of art or film.
Different categories, maybe. Different categories.
Well, you don't even need to give them. I'm not even saying like necessarily give out more awards or different awards, but like let's say there's a movie out there that came out in theaters 2 years ago, but has got a cult following 2 years later. Do something in the Oscars to at least acknowledge that this film made this type of jump afterwards, and became a thing that's helped define stuff.
I listen. I totally agree that we should be celebrating film and figuring out different ways to celebrate film and making the celebration of film enjoyable to watch. Because if people aren't going to tune in on television, they're not going to broadcast it on television. If they don't broadcast it on television, it might not continue to be as big of a deal. And I'm with Jake. I love for the honoring of film. I love for lists. We do them on the Morganino Podcast Network all the time. And film is such a subjective art. The closest thing we have to a linear way of saying, no, this is a good film and this is not, is the Academy Award. So I'm all for it. But with that being said, Jakester, you teased the Best Picture category. Let's not start there. Let's save that for the end, right? That'll probably be the one they do at the end. Or will it be? Will it be, actually? Are they going to try to repeat last year where they do Best Actor at the end? Mr. King, what's your favorite award? Are you always the one that wants to find out an actor that you love to win, or are you one that give me the movie award and that's all I care about?
It really does depend on the year. More times than not, it is going to be Best Picture. But if there was a movie that I thought was really good and didn't get the Best Picture nod, but somebody from that movie got supporting or Best Actress Actor nomination, I would want to pay attention to that as well.
Yeah, see, and that's basically, I love that you went there. It's almost like we're Simpatico podcast hosts here. I am way interested in Best Actor. I am very, very, very excited to see my guy, the odds-on favorite, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air himself, Will Smith, walk home with an Academy Award for his portrayal of Richard Williams in King Richard. He is minus 800 right now on DraftKings. Benedict Cumberbatch is behind him at plus 450 for The Power of the Dog, which, by the way, is the most nominated film. Jakester, I can't believe you haven't seen Power of the Dog. How have you not seen Power of the Dog?
Because there's a lot to it, but I'll just say that 2021 was the weirdest year of my life. That's a whole other podcast, but I just checked out, you know.
All right. So you're sort of like me then. I don't think this movie looks interesting to me whatsoever. But I mean, we're talking about Jane Campion, who is a great director, right? We got Benedict Cumberbatch, who's definitely a great actor. We got Jesse Plemons, who I love. I've called him our Lord before because of his work on some of his television stuff, Jesse Plemons, and his lovely wife, Kirsten Dunst. It's a Western. All of this sounds good to me, but for some reason I care nothing about The Power of the Dog, but it is nominated, I believe, 13 different times. So we're probably going to see it win some awards.
Right, of course. And I think but if you look at Jesse, who was amazing, and what was the Charlie Kaufman film from last year that he did? Oh my God, amazing.
I didn't see it. I'm not a big Charlie Kaufman guy.
Oh, Kaufman. Anyway, regardless, you know, he's not up for Best Actor. I see Will Smith, but I see Denzel. And let me just say real briefly about
plus 2,500, Denzel, long odds.
Tragedy of Macbeth. His performance in the first Coen Brothers movie where Ethan wasn't involved. Ethan retired and Joel made this movie by himself. It is incredible. I could talk about it for an hour. Unbelievable film. So I look at Denzel and I see him, but I see Will. I think, you know, Will Smith has put in through a lot of hours. And I don't like the politics of the Oscars. That's a whole other discussion as well. But I do look at what they do. I look at how they kind of look at things in terms of him getting training day when he won training day. We all know he was getting paid back, and that philosophy is strange to me. So looking at this at face value and only seeing Tragedy of Macbeth, but knowing what Will Smith has been doing these past few years, this past decade, to cultivate himself as a dramatic actor, King Richard all the way. Those are my thoughts on the actor in a leading role.
Mr. King, are you excited to see Will Smith win an Academy Award? Because I'm just going to flat admit, I'm excited to see Will Smith win an Academy Award, man. I've grown up with Will Smith. I love The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I had DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince albums. I loved Independence Day. I loved Men in Black. I love movie stars, man, and I'm really excited to hopefully see a movie star walk home with the Academy Award because it doesn't happen very often.
To be honest, I really thought Will Smith should have won one when he depicted Muhammad Ali. I thought that was a phenomenal performance by him.
But see, according to what Jake's saying, though, right? So maybe he should have won it there. Now maybe he's getting a payback based on what Jake was just saying. So maybe that'll work in his favor.
Maybe. I'm not a fan of that movie per se. You know that Will is gonna bring his A game when he's doing something like this.
I I just think it could be the moment of the night. I hope if he does win that they have it be at the end of the program and Will Smith absolutely brings the house down with a great speech because he's going to be ready for it.
I'm a big Denzel fan. I don't think he does
he's not going to win for a Shakespeare. He's just not. He's not going to win for a Shakespeare movie in 2022. It's not happening. Jake, and all your passionate pleas aside, he's not winning for Shakespeare. If anybody wins, it's going to be Cumberbatch, all right? If anybody wins, we're going to see a repeat of last year where everybody was waiting for the end of the program. We all thought this great tribute to Chadwick Boseman was going to occur when he won his posthumous Best Actor award, and then Sir Anthony Hopkins, who didn't even bother showing up for the program, took home the award. I just hope we don't see that this year.
And let me say something real fast about Javier Bardem and being the Ricardos. So
TV movie.
I thought TV movie. That's exactly what I thought. Because it was on Amazon. I can't disconnect. We talked about this last year at length about the nature of streaming. That's a whole other conversation. But the fact of the matter is, I saw this movie pop up and I thought, made for TV movie.
Yeah, there's just something cheesy about it. Nicole Kidman's nominated in the actress category, and people say she even has a chance, which I think is absolutely crazy. And it's just, I'm completely out on being the Ricardos. So. So Jake, you say Denzel is amazing in that movie. Everybody should check it out. Andrew Garfield's also in this category, plus 1,100. And then Javier Bardem, as we just mentioned, plus 4,000. Doesn't have himself a chance, I don't think. Let's go to Best Actress, which is where, speaking of TV movies, Jake, it's a good transition here. Nicole Kidman is second at plus 350. Olivia Colman, who might be the best working actress out there, not named Meryl Streep, is yet again nominated at plus 550. Kristen Stewart, who fills the young ingenue role this year, even though she's been around for quite a while and was a child actress, but she's in there at plus 700 for playing Diana in Spencer. But I hear that movie's terrible, so I don't like her chances. Then you got Penelope Cruz in there for Parallel Mothers, but here's the favorite, Jessica Chastain for portraying Tammy Faye Baker in The Eyes of Tammy Faye. She's minus 155. But Jake, convince me that's not a TV movie.
I can't, because I love Jessica Chastain. Her work.
Same.
In Aaron Sorkin's work. She's done incredible stuff.
Oh, yeah, the poker movie.
The poker movie. What was that movie called? It was her name, right? Her character's name.
Yeah, she was great in that. She was also good in the Zero Dark 30.
Oh my God. Incredible in Zero Dark 30.
Troubling movie, but she's good in it.
Yeah. No, so I look at that and I think, okay, so if she's got the highest odds, I have unfortunately not seen any of these films, but I do think Nicole Kidman in being the Ricardos. Okay, so let's take a step back and think about the fact that we're in the golden era of TV now, TV streaming, the golden era of TV when Lucille Ball was doing her thing. So I do think there's a connection there. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I know it's probably runaway odds, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nicole Kidman surprisingly wins for this, because from what I've heard, though, her take on Lucy was incredible. So I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, she's a good actress. And like I said, Olivia Colman, who's just nominated all the time. Chris, are you familiar with the work of Olivia Colman?
She is a phenomenal actress. And I would have to say she would be my favorite probably in this category. And then second would be Jessica Chastain for me.
Yeah, well, that's, but here's the thing. If Olivia Colman wins an Academy Award here, I mean, you're going to have Frances McDormand, who has 3. You're going to have Meryl Streep, who has 3. And I believe this would be the third for Olivia Colman as well. Somebody might have to check my math on that, but I think it would be her third as well. So that's incredible. If not her third, it's like her second, and then she's had a bunch of nominations recently. So that would be nutty. Let's move on to Best Picture. Jakester, you said you had a lot of thoughts on Best Picture. Let's hear them.
Okay, so let me just start with the fact that Dune, to me, this year, Denis Villeneuve, in all his grandeur as a filmmaker,
plus 4,000 right now on DraftKings,
has finally found a way to crack what is probably the most difficult sci-fi novel of all time to crack, aside from Foundation, but that's a whole other conversation.
That's true. All I'll say about this is, real quick, Jakester, is sci-fi fanboys are usually incredibly hard to please, and from what I gather, all the sci-fi fanboys were not mad at this movie, and that's an accomplishment.
And that's why I say, for a safe bet, I know it's not going to win. I don't know what Macbeth is. Macbeth is the other film I saw, and it blew me away. It was just so great to see. I mean, my favorite film of all time, of course, is got to be The Big Lebowski. That's a whole other conversation, which is like my go-to line, by the way. I'll put on a T-shirt. I I really care about what the Coens do. Their collection of work is going to go down in time. And so to see what Joel is doing now, going, you know what? I don't have Ethan with me anymore. I'm going to make this movie. I'm going to put my wife in it. I'm going to put Denzel Washington in it, and several other stars. It's just incredible to me. But it won't win. It won't
But
win.
I was going to say, it's not nominated for Best Picture, nor are they nominated for Best Director.
Oh, my God.
So they're definitely not going
to win.
My bad. So on the Dune tip, I think Dune has got it, but it won't win because technically it's a marvel. It's a marvel of filmmaking, but it won't win.
Yeah, sci-fi movies don't typically do very well in this category. Movies like Power of the Dog do. It's your favorite right now at minus 125. But Chris, there's some strong betting action on Coda at plus 100. And right now, a lot of people are telling you that's a pretty good bet.
Well, it's a feel-good, pull at your heartstrings type story, and it's. I have not seen it, but apparently it's getting really better reviews than what The Power of the Dog is.
Coda, real quick, Coda stands for Child of Deaf Adults, and it is available to stream on Apple Plus right now if you have that service in your house.
And it's getting better reviews, really, than what people are giving The Power of the Dog. A lot of people don't like Power of the Dog. A lot of people are saying you have to watch it twice to really understand it. So that's the type of movie that you almost do expect to win Best Picture.
West Side Story is nominated a bunch of times as well, so look out for maybe a West Side Story momentum being built here. And Jake, we have a Paul Thomas Anderson movie nominated for Best Picture, and you have not seen it. I'm disappointed in you. I understand that you've had a lot of things going on, sir, but I mean, I'm pretty sure you consider Paul Thomas Anderson a great filmmaker as well, and he's got a movie in there, and you haven't seen it.
I have not. And so I will – let me take a side real quick and say that P.T. Anderson is one of my favorites. But I'm also really interested with what Adam McKay is doing. So let's talk about Don't Look Up for a moment.
Do we have to?
We don't have to.
No, I'm just kidding you. Go ahead. You guys talk about it. Because, Chris, I know you've seen this movie too, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so let me just talk about him. Let's not talk about, the film itself and the problems it has. I've tried 3 times to get through it and I can't. So that's telling for me. As a lover of film, if I sit down to watch something, I'm going to watch it. And this has taken me 3 separate times, and I haven't finished it yet. But I will say that about McKay, just in general, what he's doing is pretty cool. He's doing some really cool stuff. I'm curious about the Lakers film he's doing, Lakers TV show he's doing on HBO is amazing. So I'm curious about what he's doing. And that's the thing, back to what we were talking about earlier, guys, is about representation. I look at Taika Waititi, and the amazing things he's doing. I just look at these filmmakers and say, where they represent this year. And that's why I didn't clue in this year as much as in years past. What do you think, Rod?
You might be right. We're looking at Belfast, that's Kenneth Branagh. We're looking at West Side Story, that's Steven Spielberg, who's only been making movies for 50 years. We got Paul Thomas Anderson, we got Adam McKay. You gotta look at Drive My Car, though. That's a 3-hour foreign film right there that got nominated for Best Picture. So that's right there.
It'll get its Best Foreign Picture award for sure. It's not going to get Best Picture. And really, when you look through all these movies, there's really only one of those movies that actually piqued my interest, and it's one of my favorite creators, Guillermo del Toro, in Nightmare Alley.
I hear Cooper's amazing in that, man.
Yeah, and it looks like a crazy good movie, and I love Guillermo del Toro. They're actually some of the longest odds right now, but I really want to see this movie bad. Like, it looks phenomenal, and I love Guillermo del Toro.
Bradley Cooper, you put a big movie star like Bradley Cooper in your movie, you're going to get some eyes on it. But unfortunately, like Jake said, and that's what circles back to this whole conversation, is it only went to HBO Max. It never really got a run in theaters. So, it just didn't seem as big of a deal. So, but yeah,
it did. It got released in theaters. But I didn't realize that, and it was in December. But that's what is another thing that's hurt the movies this year too, is people aren't going to the theaters as much ever since the pandemic started. That's why you're seeing a lot more of them come out on streaming services, whether you want to call them TV movies or not. That's where they're getting made. Those are the studios that have money.
I'm going to make one prediction right now, and it's about the Oscar telecast, all right? But I predict Will Smith will win, I predict Jessica Chastain will win, and I predict Coda will beat Power of the Dog. Those are my 3 picks from the categories that we talked about here. Jakester, your 3 picks from the 3 categories we talked about.
All right, first up, which one? Best Actor.
Best Actor. You want Will Smith there, right?
Yeah, we're going Will Smith.
All right, best actress.
We're going to go with Chastain.
All right, and then best picture, what are you going to go with? Are you going to go with Power of the Dog, Coda, Belfast, King Richard, West Side Story, Dune, Licorice Pizza, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Nightmare Alley?
Oh my God, such a tough choice. I will go with a dark horse because I loved it, and I will say Dune. I know I'm lost, but I will say Dune.
All right, you got no chance. Chris, what are you going with for best picture?
Best picture, I'm going to say they're going to give it to Power of the Dog.
All right, you're going Power of the Dog. That means you might beat me there, but who are you going with, an actor or actress?
Best actor, I'm going to take a guy we didn't talk about. He's kind of a not really thought about in this category that much. That's Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom.
No chance. Best actress?
Actress, I'm going to Olivia Colman.
Wow, look at you. All right, then I may win this thing. If Will Smith walks away with it, Jessica Chastain walks away with it, and then my coda comes through, I may win this thing. But the prediction I am sure is going to happen is look for them to do the musical performance of their Something Wrong with Bruno very early on in the Academy Awards telecast, all right? Because Encanto is incredibly hot right now. That song actually hit #1. Look for them to go to the Bruno song from Encanto very early in the telecast.
That Encanto has the best odds right now for animated films as well.
I've seen that, and I've seen Mitchell versus the Machines.
They're
versus
number
the
2.
Machines was fabulous.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
You got Danny McBride doing a voice. You got Maya Rudolph doing a voice. You can't go wrong with Mitchell's versus the Machines.
The animation is phenomenal in that movie, too.
Yeah, I'm working for you right there on Netflix. Check it out. But hey, I love the Academy Awards. Check the Academy Awards out. We gave you some predictions. We gave you some odds. That's how we tied it into Balls and Brew. Mr. Jake Williams, always love having you on the podcast, sir. Thank you for joining us.
And thank you for having me, guys. It was a blast, as always.
All right, Mr. King, there we go. We did some football. We did some basketball. We did some golf. We did some Academy Awards. I'd say that was a pretty full episode of Balls and Brew for the people.
We covered it all.
We sure did. Make sure you're tuning in next week for, yeah, we know, In the Ring with Jimmy and Hot Rod. We will have our WrestleMania picks. Next week is the last week before WrestleMania. Jimmy and I will be doing our WrestleMania picks next week. We'll have another episode of Come On In, the Mrs. Morgan You Know and I Survivor recap available for you on Wednesday morning. And then we'll be back with Balls and Brew again at the end of next week. Final word, as always, goes to you, Mr. King.
Goodbye, Internet.